Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone. My name is NURAWLIYA NASUHA binti AHMAD ZUBIR, metric number 231373130 from Electronic System Program. Today, I will presenting my safety officer briefing on occupational safety and health, commonly known as OSH, together with hazard identification, risk assessment and risk control or HIRARC. For this presentation, I have selected Tier North SDMBHD, which is located in Kulim High Tech Park. The focus area for this assessment is the chemical storage and the chemical mechanical polishing or CMP area. This area was chosen because it is involved the handling of hazardous, chemical, specialized equipment and process that can pose significant risk if proper safety control are not implemented. The purpose of this briefing is to explain the importance of occupational safety and health in workplace because the legal requirement under Malaysian legislation introduce the concept of HIRARC and demonstrate how HIRARC can be applied to identify hazard and risk control within a semiconductor manufacturing environment. As a future engineer, understanding workplace safety is very important because engineering decisions directly affect worker, equipment, and the surrounding environment. Therefore, this presentation will not only focus on legal compliance but also on professional responsibility and practical safety management. Let us begin with the introduction. Before discussing the HIRARC, it is important to understand the role of a safety officer. A safety officer is a person who is responsible for promoting workplace safety. Identifying hazard is ensuring compliance with safety regulation and reducing the risk of accident and occupational illness. In many industries, especially manufacturing and engineering industry, the safety officer plays a critical role in ensuring that employees work in a safe, healthy environment. According to OSHA 1994, Section 29, certain industries are required to appoint a safety officer to oversee occupational safety and health activities. This demonstrates how seriously workplace safety is viewed under Malaysian law. For the responsibility of the safety officer include conducting workplace inspection, identifying unsafe condition, investigating accident, providing a safety training, ensuring workers use PPE correctly, and monitoring compliance with safety procedure. Now, why is this briefing is important? Firstly, a DOSH audit may occur at any time. During an audit, inspectors evaluate whether an organization complies with safety and health requirements. The failure to comply can result in penalties, legal consequences, and damage to the organization's reputation. Secondly, workers must understand their responsibility regarding safety. Safety is not only solely the responsibility of management or safety officer. Every worker has a role to play in maintaining a safe workplace. Thirdly, hazard must be identified before accident occur. A proactive approach is always more effective than reactive approach. Instead of waiting for accident to happen, organizations should identify hazard and implement controls beforehand. Finally, compliance with occupational safety and health requirements help to protect workers, improve productivity, reduce downtime, maintain the organization reputation. Therefore, the role of safety officer is essential in ensuring that workplace risks are effectively managed and controlled. This slide explains why occupational safety and health is important. Workplace accidents continue to occur in many industries through Malaysia. These accidents can result in injuries, fatalities, production delays, equipment damage, and environmental contamination, and significant financially loss. The first reason OSH is important is because of moral responsibility. Every employee has the right to work in a safe environment and return home safely at the end of the day. No worker should be injured or lose their life simply because they are performing their job. As employers and engineers, we have the ethical responsibility to protect workers from preventable harm. The second reason is legal responsibility. Under OSH 1994, employers are legally required to ensure the safety, health, and welfare of their employees. Failure to comply with this requirement can result in investigation, legal action, fines, and other penalty. The third reason is financial responsibility. Many people think that implementing a safety measure is expensive. However, workplace accidents are often much more costly. For example, Accident may result in compensation, claims medical expense, equipment repair, production downtime, and reduced worker productivity. In severe cases, the company may also lose customer and damage its reputation. For a real example occurred in Malaysia in 2023, where a worker was fatally injured during maintenance work due to inadequate safety procedure. This accident highlights the consequences of failing to identify hazard and implement the effective risk control. In semiconductor manufacturing facilities such as Chip North, workers regularly handle hazardous chemical and operate sophisticated equipment without proper safety control. Even a small mistake can result in serious injuries or operational disruption. Therefore, occupational safety and health should not be viewed as an additional burden, but as an essential investment that protects people's assets, and business operation. This slide focuses on employer responsibility under OSHA 1994 Section 15. According to this section, employers must ensure as far as reasonably practicable the safety, health, and welfare of employees while they are at work. The first responsibility is providing safe machinery and equipment. The first machine and equipment must be properly designed, maintained, and inspected regularly to ensure they operate well safely. Defective equipment can increase the risk of injuries accident. The second responsibility is establishing safe system of work. Employers must develop the procedure and work instruction that guide workers in performing tasks safely. This procedure should be documented and communicated clearly to employees. The third responsibility is ensuring the safe handling, storage, and transportation of chemicals. This responsibility is particularly important in semiconductor manufacturing because many processes involve hazardous chemicals such as hydrofluoric acid, nitric acid, and other corrosive substances. For the fourth responsibility is providing the adequate training and supervision. Workers must receive training before performing hazardous tasks. Training helps employees understand workplace hazard, emergency procedure, and proper safety practice. The fifth responsibility is providing a safe working environment. These include proper ventilation system, emergency response requirement, adequate lighting, housekeeping practice, and appropriate safety signage. In this context of chip nodes STMBHD, management must ensure that chemicals used in CMP process are properly stored in designated area and handled according to safety procedure. Emergency response equipment such as spill kits and emergency shower must also available and maintained. Overall, OSHA Section 15 places a significant responsibility on employers to create and maintain a safe workplace. While employers have many responsibilities, employees also have an important duty under OSHA 1994 Section 24. Safety can only be achieved when both employer and employees work together. The first responsibility of employees is to take reasonable care of their own safety and health. Workers must remain alert to follow procedure and avoid unnecessary risk while performing their tasks. The second responsibility is to avoid action that may endanger others. For the unsafe behavior such as bypassing safety procedure, horseplay, or improper chemical handling can place colleagues at risk. The third responsibility is following company safety procedure. Organizations develop safety procedure to minimize risk. Workers are expected to comply with this procedure at all times. The fourth responsibility is wearing required personal protective equipment, or we call it PPE. Example include safety goggles, gloves, face shield, respirator, and safety shoes. PPE provide an additional layer of protection against workplace hazard. The fifth responsibility is cooperating with safety initiatives. For workers should be participate in safety training program, emergency drills, safety meeting, and workplace inspection. For example, when handling the nitric acid, workers must wear a chemical-resistant glove, safety goggles, laboratory coats, and other required PPE. They must also follow the established chemical handling procedure and immediately report for any spill or accident. In this semiconductor environment, employees play a critical role in maintaining workplace safety because they are often the first individual to identify hazard or unsafe condition. Therefore, employee participation is essential for creating a strong safety culture with the organization. Next slide, I would like to discuss the Occupational Safety and Health Amendment Act 2022. The amendment was introduced to strengthen workplace safety and health practice in Malaysia to address emerging workplace challenge. One of the most significant changes is the increase in penalties for non-compliance. Previously, some organizations viewed safety violation as a minor issue. However, with higher penalties, employees are encouraged to take occupational safety and health more seriously. Another important change is wider coverage of workers. The amendment extends protection to large group of employees at workplace, ensuring that more individuals benefit from safety and health provided. The amendment also places a greater accountability on employers. Employees are expected to actively identify workplace hazards, assess risks, and implement effective control to measure rather than simplify reacting after accident occur. Furthermore, organizations are encouraged to strengthen their safety management system and create a proactive safety culture. In semiconductor industry, these amendments are highly relevant because employees work with hazardous chemical, electrical system, and advanced manufacturing equipment. A lack of safety control can result in seriously injuries, production loss, and environmental impact. Therefore, the OSHA 2022 amendment reinforced the importance of continuous safety improvement and proactive risk management. For the BEM code ethic, as engineering students, it is important for us to understand not only technical knowledge but also professional ethics. The Board of Engineering Malaysia, or BEM, has been established a code of professional conduct that guide engineers in carrying out their responsibilities. One of the most important principles that state engineers should hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of public. This means that whenever engineers are making any decision, safety must always be the highest priority. For example, an engineer may be under pressure to complete a project quickly or reduce costs. However, if a decision compromises worker safety, that decision would be violate professional ethics. In semiconductor manufacturing, engineers are involved in designing process, selecting equipment, and developing operating procedure. Every engineering decision has a potential to affect worker safety. For example, engineers must ensure that chemical storage systems are properly designed, ventilation system function effectively, and emergency response are measures available. Professional ethics also require engineers to support unsafe condition, to report unsafe condition, and recommend corrective action, even if doing so may temporarily affect production schedule. Therefore, ethical engineering practice contributes significantly to creating a safe and responsible workplace. MS 1722-2011 is Malaysia Occupational Safety and Health Management System Standard. This standard provides structured framework that organizations can use to manage workplace safety systematically. The first element is policy. A safety policy demonstrates management commitment to protecting employees and maintain a safe working environment. Second element is planning. Planning involves identifying hazards, assessing risks, and establish safety objectives. Effective planning helps organizations prevent accidents before they occur. The third element is implementation. This stage involves carrying out safety programs, providing training, implementing procedure, and allocating resources. For the third element is evaluation. Organizations monitor performance, conduct inspection, investigate incidents, and evaluate the effectiveness of safety control. Management reviews safety performance, identify weaknesses, and develop improvement strategies. These 5 elements work together to create a continuously cycle of improvement. In semiconductor manufacturing facilities, implementing MS 1722 helps to organization manage a chemical hazardous equipment risk and workplace safety more effectively. The next slide is talk about the PDCA cycle. It is a widely used management approach for continuously improvement. PDCA standard for plan, do, check, and act. The first stage is at this stage is organization identify workplace hazard, assess risk, establish objective, and determine suitable control measure. For the example, management identify chemical vapor exposure as a significant hazard and plan the strategy to reduce worker exposure. The second stage is do. This involves implementing the planned controls. Example include installing ventilation system, conducting safety training, and introducing new safety procedure. The third stage is check. Organization evaluate whether the implemented controls are effective. This may involve inspection, audit, monitoring activities, and employee feedback. For the fourth stage is act. Based on evaluation result, improvements are made. If certain controls are ineffective, alternative measures may be introduced. For example, if a chemical spill occurred despite existing control, the company should be investigate the root cause and improve the procedure to prevent future incidents. The PDCA cycle promotes continuous improvement and help organizations maintain a strong safety culture. This slide is talk about HIRARC. What and why? HIRARC stands for Hazard Identification, Risk Assessment, and Risk Control. HIRARC is one of the most important tools used in occupational safety and health management. The first step is hazardous identification. This involves in identifying anything that may cause harm to people, property, or the environment. The second step is risk assessment. After identifying hazard, the likelihood and severity of potential incident are evaluated to determine the level of risk. The third step is control. Appropriate measures are implemented to eliminate or reduce risk to an acceptable level. The purpose of HIRARC is to prevent the accident and occupational illness before they occur. Instead of waiting for an incident to happen, organizations use HIRARC to proactively identify and manage the risk. In semiconductor manufacturing, HIRARC is commonly used to evaluate risks associated with chemical handling, electrical system, machinery operation, and maintenance activity. Therefore, HIRARC is a fundamental tool for creating a safer workplace. This slide is illustrate the HIRARC process flow. The process begins with classifying work activities. For example, activities in the chemical storage and CMP area may include chemical transfer, storage, equipment operation, and maintenance. The second step is identifying hazards associated with each activity. Example include chemical spill, vapor expert, electrical shock, and equipment-related injuries. The third step is risk assessment. The likelihood and severity of each hazard are evaluated to determine the overall risk. For the fourth step is determining control measure. Control measures are selected according to hierarchy or control minimize risk. The fifth step is documenting finding. A proper documentation ensures that hazardous risk level and control measures are clearly recorded. The final is reviewing and updating the assessment. Workplace conditions may change over time, so HIRARC assessment must be reviewed regularly. This systematic approach ensures that workplace risks are effectively identified, evaluated, and controlled. This slide presents the 5x5 risk metric used during risk assessment. The formula used is risk score equals likelihood multiplied by severity. Likelihood refers to the probability that an accident will occur. The scale ranges from 1, which presents a rare occurrence, to 5, which presents an almost certain occurrence. Severity refers to the seriousness of the consequences if the incident occurs. The scale ranges from 1, which is insignificant, to 5, which is severe. Once the likelihood and severity value are selected, they are multiplied to obtain the risk score. The metric color code to simplify the interpretation. Green indicates to low risk, yellow indicates to medium risk, red indicates to high risk. Let us consider an example. Suppose there are a possibility of hydrofluoric acid when it's spilled during chemical transfer activities. The likelihood is rated as 3 because spills are possible. The severity is rated to 5 because exposure may result in severe injury. By multiplying this value, give a risk score of 50. According to the matrix, a score of 15 falls under the high category risk. Therefore, immediate action must be taken to reduce the risk. This metric helps safety officers to prioritize hazard and allocate the resource efficiently. The hierarchy control is used to determine the most effective method for controlling workplace hazard. The highest level is elimination. This involves removing the hazard completely from the workplace. The second level is substitution. A hazardous material or process replaces it with safer alternative. The third level is engineering control. This controls physical separate worker from the hazard. Example include machine guard, enclosed system, and ventilation equipment. For the fourth level is administrative control. This includes procedure, work schedule, training supervision, and warning sign. The final level is personal protective equipment, or we call it as PPE. Example include glove, goggles, face shield, respirator, and safety shoe. For chemical vapor export, elimination would be involve removing the hazardous chemical. Substitution would involve using less hazardous alternative. Engineering control would be involved installing ventilation system. Administrative control would include SOP and worker training. Finally, PPE would include respirator and safety goggle. The hierarchy emphasizes that PPE should always be the last line on defense rather than primary control measure. For this slide, present three hazards identified in chemical storage and CMP area. The first hazard is hydrofluoric acid spill. Hydrofluoric acid is one of the most hazardous chemicals in use at the semiconductor manufacturing. Spill can cause severe chemical burn and tissue damage. The likelihood is rated as 3 because spill may occur during handling, safe transfer, or storage activities. The severity is rated as 5 because the consequences can be severe. The risk result in risk score of 15, which is classified as a high risk. To control this hazard, secondary containment system should be installed, spill kits should be available, and the emergency shower should be provided. The second hazard is chemical vapor export. Worker may inhale in harmful vapor released during chemical handling or processing activities. For the likelihood in this hazard, it is rated as 3 because export is possible during routine operation. The severity is rated as 4 because export may cause respiratory irritation and healthcare effect. The resulting risk score is 12, which is fall under medium risk category. Control measures include exhaust ventilation system, air quality monitoring, and respiratory protection. The third hazard is electrical shock from CMP equipment. For the CMP equipment, machine operate using electrical power and may pose electrical hazards if not properly maintained. The likelihood is rated as 2 because incidents are relatively uncommon when proper maintenance is performed. However, the severity is rated as 5 because the electrical shock can result in severe injury or death. This gives a risk score of 10, which is classified as medium risk. For the recommended control include lockout and takeout procedure, regular inspection, preventative maintenance, and proper grounding system. This example demonstrates how HIRARC help organization for a systematically identify hazard, assess risk, and implement effective control measure. Summary and call to action. In conclusion of this slide, occupational safety and health is essential to protecting workers and ensuring business continuity. Through this presentation, we have discussed OSHA legislation, the BM Code of Ethics, MS 1722-2011, the PDCA cycle, HIRARC, the risk matrix, and the hierarchy control. We also applied HIRARC principle to identify hazard within the chemical storage and CMP area. The findings show that workplace hazard can be effectively managed when risks are identified early and appropriate control measures are implemented. Management must continue providing resource, training, and supervision and support for safety programs. Employees must effectively participate by following procedure using PPE correctly and reporting hazard. Safety is not one-time activity. It is required to continuous commitment and improvement from everyone within the organization. By working together and applying the principle discussed today, organization can create a safer workplace, reduce incident, improve productivity, and protect the well-being of all employees.